Testing, mic test, testing, mic test. Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever in the world you're joining us from today. I would like to wish you a warm welcome to the first of three conversations on Africa's security cooperation with China. This morning, we will set the scene by focusing on African security cooperation with China by looking at challenges and opportunities. The current global context provides a very sobering backdrop from which to look to the future of China-Africa security cooperation. However, over the next couple of days, we'll also be able to look at the implications for the Belt and Road Initiative for China-Africa security cooperation and for its implications on multilateralism. I am Fonte Akum, Executive Director at the Institute for Security Studies, and I'm coming to you from Pretoria, South Africa this morning. This year, ISS proudly celebrates 30 years of delivering evidence-based analysis, technical assistance, and policy support, capacity strengthening, and the provision of policy dialogue platforms like the one on which we are this morning. The objective is to promote human security on the continent and to contribute to an agenda that advances Africa's promise for peace and prosperity. I would acknowledge that our work is made possible by support we receive from our Partnership Forum members, who include Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, the European Union, the Hans Seidel Stiftung, and the Open Society Foundation. During this year, in the build-up to a number of Africa's engagements with multiple others, the ISS has hosted a number of conversations on Africa's engagement with the EU, with France, with the US, and now we have the opportunity to engage on Africa's security cooperation with China. In the build-up to this year's forum on China-Africa cooperation, the ISS, and thankfully in collaboration with the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to South Africa, is hosting these three conversations over 2 days. We would like to thank the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to South Africa for the warm collaboration, and I would also like to thank our panelists for availing themselves to be with us today. Without further ado, I would like to invite His Excellency Ambassador Chen Xiaodong, the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to the Republic of South Africa, to provide us with his opening remarks. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fontaine Akum, Director of the South Africa Institute for Security Studies. Your Excellency, Ambassador Annie Suknar, Deputy Director General of DIRCO, distinguished friends from the academias, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's my great pleasure to attend today's seminar on Africa's security partnership with China, looking to the future, co-hosted by the Institute for Security Studies of South Africa and the Chinese Embassy. The ISS is a leading think tank in South Africa and Africa. It's an authoritative institution specializing in security issues. On behalf of the Chinese Embassy, I would like to express our most sincere gratitude to Director Akum and your colleagues for the extensive and elaborate preparations made by the ISS for this event. The world today is facing changes unseen in a century. COVID-19 is still raging around the world, which continue to impact the economic and social development of the African continent. It also has far-reaching and complicated effects on the security situation in Africa. Against this backdrop, today's seminar focusing on a stronger security partnership between China and Africa is of great practical significance. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, Peace and security on the African continent has generally been improving in recent years. Politically, African countries has gained momentum in their pursuit of independence and self-reliance. Economically, the African continent has taken an important step forward, regional integration with the launch of the AFCFTA. In the fight against COVID-19, African countries have been working to overcome the odds in solidarity. Some African countries have withstood the difficulties of the virus and actively promote their internal political agenda. They held important elections and achieved peaceful transition of power. The AU and sub-regional organizations are playing an increasingly important role in coordinating and resolving regional hotspot issues and conducting peace operations. At the same time, Africa still faces many risks and challenges in security. Traditional and non-traditional security threats such as terrorism, ethnic conflict, piracy, food crisis, and others are becoming more intertwined. COVID-19 has also aggravated political and social instability in some African countries. Some regional hotspot issues are heating up, leading to fluctuations in local security situations, and the efforts for collective security mechanism has been slow progress. External hegemonic powers have been haunted by colonial mentalities. They violently interfere in the internal affairs of African countries and use sanctions wantonly. Their bullying practice caused the African people great suffering and pain. Recently, individual powers once again wielded sanctions against some African countries, which seriously affected the process of restoring peace and stability in regional countries. In today's world, the idea of security has richer connotations. It now covers more areas of life, spans over a longer period of time, and there are more intricate and complex factors at play. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you a few observations on China's philosophies for peace, cooperation, development, and security. I wish to use them to provide some thought into addressing the issues of peace, security, and development in Africa. First, China has always inherited and pursued the virtues for peace and harmony. We oppose practicing hegemony from a so-called position of strength and firmly committed to maintain world peace and stability. We believe that major countries have a greater responsibility for world peace and development and must take the future of mankind as a primary concern. President Xi Jinping pointed out that in addressing international matters, one should not start from a so-called position of strength to conduct hegemony and bullying. Rather, countries need to be guided by the purpose and principles of the UN Charter and adhere to the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefit. China has made a solemn commitment to the world that it will unswervingly pursue peaceful development and always commit to living in harmony with all countries in the world, to mature respect as well as to treating others as equals. We are firmly committed to the idea that all countries are equals regardless of their size. We respect the choice of social systems and development paths by all countries according to their own national conditions. China will continue to follow principles put forward by President Xi Jinping. The principle of honoring sincerity, real result, amity, and good faith, and that of pursuing the greater good and shared interests among countries. We will always be a good friend, partner, and brother with Africa through thick and thin. Second, development is a master key to solving security problem. Only by advancing Africa's independent and sustainable development can we remove the factors affecting lasting peace, security, and stability on the continent at the road. Without a peaceful and secure environment, Africa cannot achieve development. And in the absence of development, Africa cannot eliminate problems in peace and security. In his speech at the general debate of the 76th UNGA session, President Xi Jinping once again announced that China will make available another $3 billion in international aid over the next 3 years. The aid will go to supporting developing countries as well as African countries in fighting COVID-19 and restoring economic and social development. The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation mechanism has been up and running for 21 years. We have always made cooperation and development the first priority of FOCAC, and we give full play to the unique and strong complementarities of China and Africa in our economies and development stages. We constantly deepen the connection among our various development strategies, and our joint efforts on the FOCAC have witnessed a distinctive path of win-win cooperation. The Belt and Road Initiative is an important international cooperation initiative proposed by President Xi Jinping. It is a public good provided by China to the international community. And Africa is an indispensable part of this initiative. Belt and Road cooperation between China and Africa will help bring this initiative in with the AU's Agenda 2063 and open up new versions for China-Africa cooperation. Third, China actively advocates and practices common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security. We believe that security issues need to be resolved with comprehensive measures and addressed at both the symptoms and the root causes. In the face of a complex international security situation, President Xi Jinping pioneered the concept of common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security. Common is about respecting and ensuring the security of all countries. It's about achieving universal equal, and inclusive security, and not seeking one's own absolute security at the expense of other countries' security. Comprehensive is about delivering traditional and non-traditional security in an integrated manner. It's about taking into account the history and the realities of security issues and advancing security governance in a coordinated manner. Cooperative is about ensuring security in all countries and regions through dialogue and cooperation. It's about enhancing strategic mutual trust, seeking peace, and promoting security through cooperation as well as peacefully resolving disputes. Sustainable is about focusing on both development and security in order to achieve lasting security. It's important to zero in on development, actively improve people's livelihood, narrow the gap between rich and poor, and constantly strengthen the foundation of security. The security concept advocated by China has received positive comment and endorsement by the majority of the country. It has also pointed the directions forward for China, Africa to deepen peace and security cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, the Chinese government attaches great importance to peace and security cooperation with Africa. We are committed to constantly strengthen peace and security cooperation with Africa, and there have been positive results. First, constantly upgrade peace and security cooperation initiative with Africa and build corresponding dialogue platforms and mechanisms. In 2018, President Xi Jinping put forward a peace and security initiative at the FOCAC Beijing summit. He proposed to establish the China-Africa Peace and Security Forum, and the first forum was successfully held in Beijing in July 2019. Second, actively provide funding support for peace and security cooperation with Africa. In 2015, China announced to set up a $1 billion China UN Peace and Development Fund stretching 10 years. African countries are among the major beneficiaries. In the same year, China announced $60 million in grant assistance to the AU to support establishing the Africa Standby Force and the Rapid Response Force for crisis response. In 2018, China decided to set up a China-Africa Peace and Security Cooperation Fund to support China-Africa cooperation for peace and security, peacekeeping and stability. In 2020, China also provided 300 million RMB in grant assistance to counterterrorism operation in the Sahara region and to the joint force of the G5 for the Sahara. Third, contribute to peace and security cooperation with Africa under multilateral mechanism. China values stronger communication and coordination with African countries in the UN Security Council. We attach importance to providing more finance support to the UN for Africa-owned peace operation, and we are ready to work with others for stronger peace and stability in Africa. Fourth, China's armed forces have shouldered the responsibility as a major country with concrete actions. The Chinese Navy have sent 38 escort fleets to the Gulf of Aden to carry out patrol missions. Among the P5 of the UN Security Council, China has sent the largest number of peacekeeping troops to Africa. China has provided various types of military assistance and personnel training to the AU and Africa countries through multilateral channels to support Africa in strengthening peace and security capacity building. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, next, I would like to use the occasion to also reaffirm a few policies and proposals of the Chinese side on building a closer China-Africa community with a shared future in the new era. First, China will continue to uphold solidarity in COVID response and actively and firmly support Africa in fighting the virus. COVID-19 response is now still an important task for African countries. It's a matter that concerns the security of African countries and the well-being of their peoples. President Ramaphosa said that a safer and healthier Africa is a prerequisite for a safer and healthier world. China will deliver the commitment made by President Xi Jinping at the UNGA General Debate and other occasions. We will strive to supply 2 billion doses of COVID vaccines to the world and donate 100 million doses to developing countries so as to help Africa bridge the vaccine divide that defeats the virus. We will steadily advance the constructions of the headquarters of the Africa CDC to help Africa enhance its ability to prevent and respond to major disease and improve the health and well-being of the African people. Second, China will take the lead in the initiative on Partnership for Africa's Development and actively participate in Africa's development and revitalization. China and African countries jointly launched the initiative on Partnership for Africa's Development. This has received positive response and support from a large number of African countries. China, together with its African brothers, will actively call on the international community to increase support for Africa in COVID response, post-COVID rebuilding, peace and security, trade and investment, debt relief, food security, poverty alleviation, climate change, and industrialization. We will work harder to invest in areas most urgently needed by the Africa side so as to completely eliminate the root cause of conflict. China will continue to promote Belt and Road cooperation with Africa, focus on infrastructure, support the AFCFTA, help optimize Africa's production capacity investment, strengthen cooperation in science, technology, and innovation, and help Africa achieve leapfrog development. Third, China will increase investment in Africa's peace and security and support Africa in silence the guns. We will be a staunch defender of peace and stability in Africa. China will continue to make peace and security issues an important agenda of China-Africa conversations in political, diplomatic, and defense affairs. We will actively be part of the mediation efforts on hotspot issues in Africa, support African countries in solving Africa problem the Africa way, to promote political settlement and peaceful reconciliation. China will continue to strengthen communication and coordination with African countries at the UN and the Security Council. We will support the AU's goal of silence the guns and call on the international community to contribute to build a peaceful and stable Africa. China will continue to provide peacekeeping funding to Africa, support AU peace operation, and provide more professional training for African countries on civilian protection and peacekeeping missions. We will help Africa enhance its capacity for peacekeeping, stability, and counterterrorism. China supports the UN in providing predictable and sustainable financial support for Africa-owned peace operation. We are firmly opposed to interference by external force in the internal affairs of African countries under any pretext or by any means, so as to avoid causing more frictions and conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, the new FOCAC ministerial meeting will be held in Senegal by the end of this year. This is another important event jointly organized by China and Africa under COVID-19. The event will point the way forward for the next phase of China-Africa cooperation. We look forward to the insights of all scholars and experts for building a China-Africa community with shared future and forging a China-Africa security partnership in the new era. Let's all work jointly for greater development of China-Africa relations. I wish today's seminar a great success. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ambassador Chen, for those opening remarks. And you clearly identified the linkages between peace, security, and development on the African continent. There is no peace without development, and there is no development without peace as well. And these interconnections actually provide the backdrop and the baseline through which to promote cooperative, safe, complementary and sustainable approaches to peace and security on the continent as well. At this point, I would like to present the other panelists. We are joined today by His Excellency Ambassador Anil Suklal, the Deputy Director General of Asia and the Middle East at the Department for International Relations and Cooperation at the Republic of South Africa. We're also joined by Professor Zhan Chun of Yunnan University. And we are also joined today by Sanusha Naidu, Senior Research Fellow at the Institute for Global Dialogue. So without further ado, I would invite Ambassador Suklal to take the floor. Ambassador, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Akum. Your Excellency, Ambassador Chen, Professor Zhang Chun, and fellow panelist Sanusha Naidu. Let me firstly, Dr. Akum, also echo my congratulations to ISS on its 30th anniversary that you observed this year. ISS has been a leader in thought leadership in South Africa and has made a major contribution to academia and the think tank landscape in South Africa, and we're grateful for the work being done by the ISS and in partnering today with the Chinese Embassy in hosting this very important seminar. I think it's very timeless that we have a seminar focusing on security and the partnership with China on the African continent, especially given the recent security environment globally, and given that we lived in a globalized, interconnected world. The security architecture in one part of the world impacts globally, and therefore it's important that we look at how China and Africa are partnering within the security domain. I think it's important at the very outset to understand China's security policy from looking at its recent history and the challenges China itself faced in terms of its own liberation, so to call it. So therefore, it's important for us to frame China's view on global security, regional security, domestic security within the context of its recent history, starting from the First Opium War of 1839, 1842, and leading up to the subsequent Sino-Japanese War, the first and the second, and culminating ultimately in the defeat of the nationalist KMT and the coming to power in 1949 of the Chinese Communist Party. I think that experience has framed modern China's policy on not just domestic and regional security, but global security as well. Having endured a period of imperialism, subjugation, occupation, and emancipating itself from those chains, I think has had a tremendous impact on how China sees global security based on its own exploitation and subjugation and being subject to the forces of imperialism and abuse. The other important point to also take into account is the ideological assistance provided by China soon after the Communist Party came into power in 1949 to the anti-colonial movements, both in Africa and Asia. In Africa, we have seen how China assisted the liberation movements, especially in Southern Africa, Angola, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, where China was a partner in assisting us fight for freedom and liberation and fighting both colonialism and the apartheid regime. And it is this policy of China's three-world theory, which advocated China's leadership of the global South and of sharing its own experiences with the global South in terms of fighting for the country's emancipation and freedom that underpinned China's foray into the security domain, especially in Asia and Africa. I think when we are looking at the security architecture, the partnership between China and Africa, and I'm sure the eminent speakers during the course of the seminar over the next 2 days will unpack this. For me, I think there are 5 critical areas that needs unpacking. Firstly, the bilateral security arrangement between China and individual African countries, including South Africa, that's in place through MOUs or agreements covering the domain of peace, security, and including the defense domain. Secondly, China's foray into Africa through the multilateral domain, be it the critical role that China plays within the UNSC, especially on the agenda items pertaining to peace and security as a P5 member. And as we know, almost 70% of the UNSC agenda is focused on peace and security in the African continent. And China has been a solid partner in terms of positively influencing UNSC decisions regarding peace and security on the African continent. Secondly, still within the multilateral domain, China has been a major force for good in terms of its true contributing to the DPKO in terms of peacekeeping on the African continent. Thirdly, working with the African Union, and I think Ambassador Chen has alluded to that partnership, where China is a solid partner in terms of the peace and security architecture and a partner with the African Union Commission in reinforcing our peace and security mandate under Agenda 2063 and the Peace and Security Council. Fourthly, through the FOCAC domain, since its inception in October 2000, FOCAC from the very beginning recognized that China's interaction with Africa must also be underpinned by creating a secure and enabling environment. And we saw the maturity of this following the 2018 FOCAC summit in Beijing and the first of the peace and security architecture meeting between China, Africa, and the FOCAC that Ambassador Chen alluded to that took place in 2019. So this is a firmly established track of FOCAC that in order for China to positively impact its endeavors on the African continent, especially in the development domain under Agenda 2063, through the FOCAC forum, that you need to create an enabling environment addressing peace and security as an important pillar of that cooperation. And fifthly, the most recent entrant to the China-Africa partnership on the security front is the Belt and Road Initiative, which also has a security dimension to it. So I think these are the 5 critical areas, as I see it, that needs to be unpacked in order to comprehensively understand the partnership between China and Africa within the security domain and what is happening. And there's much that is happening there. Ambassador Chen has already alluded to that. I think it's also important for us to frame the security partnership between Africa and China, understanding the mindset of China through the lens of President Xi. And I want to quote from a speech that he delivered on the 26th of March at the Global Governance Seminar that was held in Paris, co-hosted by China and France. And this is what President Xi has had to say. We need to enhance solidarity to address the peace deficit. The local wars and conflicts continue, and some parts of the world are plagued by terrorism, devastating the lives of many, particularly children. We should take a new approach towards security and pursue common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security. We must reject the Cold War mentality, the zero-sum game mindset, and the law of the jungle, and promote peace and security through cooperation. We should resolve disputes through peaceful means, oppose the arbitrary use of threat, of force, oppose any provocation and escalation of tension for self-interest, and reject the practice of shifting trouble onto neighbors and seeking gain at the expense of others. All countries should pursue peaceful development in a common endeavor of achieving enduring global peace. I think President Xi clearly articulates China's worldview in terms of peace, security, and a common global society living in harmony with each other. Having said that, I think it's also important that we understand that China's role as a promoter or partner in the advancement of regional and global peace and stability efforts must be seen in the context of its long-standing 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, namely mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, mutual non-aggression, non-interference in each other's internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence, which all apply to China's foreign policy as its external engagements with actors within the international community. I think these are the 5 principles that has been there from the very outset that the Communist Party came into power in 1949 and continues to underpin China's engagement with the global community in terms of its interaction as we see it today. The importance of China's contribution towards the promotion of growth and development, as well as peace and stability on the African continent, should also be contextualized in terms of Africa's development scenario, especially Agenda 2063, the NEPAD, as well as within the context of the SDGs, especially SDG 9 and 17, where SDG 9 calls for the promotion of a dynamic and competitive economic environment to generate employment and livelihoods, and SDG 17 provides for the cultivation of international partnerships that aim to secure a peaceful, prosperous, and reformed world order. In the above instance, China has an invaluable role to play in supporting various development initiatives on the African continent, whether through the cultivation of partnerships with individual African countries, as I've mentioned, through bilateral agreements or MOUs, or through the FOCAC, or through the Belt and Road Initiative, or through the multilateral fora. Therefore, I believe today's seminar is especially important, given firstly that the forthcoming FOCAC ministerial meeting that will take place in Dhaka later this year will be an important arena where the issue of not only China's economic and development involvement in the African continent will come under sharp focus, but also China's contribution in terms of creating a secure and peaceful African environment. China has prioritized its security cooperation in Africa in recent years. We have seen this not only through FOCAC, but both at the multilateral and the bilateral level. While the discourse between China and its partners on the African continent at the forthcoming FOCAC summit can be expected to predominantly focus on socio-economic and development issues, security will be an important part of that focus as well. China-Africa security cooperation is all-encompassing and includes issues of a transnational nature, the fostering of bilateral defense cooperation, and supporting African countries in strengthening the national defense structures. However, cooperation on security-related matters is merely intended to mitigate potential threats to peace and security, and invariably to ensure that the peaceful economic growth and development of the African continent is sustained through the China-Africa partnership. And as I've indicated, another important addition to the China-Africa cooperation has been the Belt and Road Initiative that was unveiled by President Xi in 2013. South Africa became the first country to sign an MOU on cooperation between China and South Africa through the Belt and Road Initiative in 2015. Today, nearly all of African countries are impacted by the positive influence and impact of the Belt and Road Initiative. We witness a number of agreements, a number of practical projects in the infrastructure, manufacturing, capacity building, a whole range of areas that is covered by the Belt and Road Initiative. And this is an important addition to the cooperation between China and Africa. And the Belt and Road Initiative is also there for the mutual benefit of both Africa and China. And underpinning this is also a strong security architecture between the two countries, between the continent and China. According to the Africa Center for Strategic Studies, there are some 10,000 Chinese companies in Africa currently, including at least 2,000 state-owned enterprises. Many of these SOEs are involved in construction projects linked to the Belt and Road Initiative, which are being constructed in both medium and high-risk countries. And I think we must applaud China. Despite the fact that you have challenges on the security front in a number of countries, many of our partners walk away from these countries. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. When a country is in crisis, we need to stand by them and assist them. And China has stood by in such instances. Sudan is a typical example. China did not walk away from Sudan, despite all of the challenges being experienced in that country. And I think this is the solid partnership that we have. Despite the security challenges, we found that Chinese SOEs remained in the country, and the Chinese government assisted positively to try and see how they could impact, even appointing a special envoy to the Great Lakes region in the form of former ambassador to South Africa, Ambassador Li Gujin, when the Great Lakes region was in crisis. And I think this is the strength of the partnership, where despite the environment being fraught with difficulties in the peace and security domain, China is prepared to partner Africa during these difficult times, stabilize the situation, find an inclusive solution, and create an enabling environment for development so that the countries and the people benefit under trying circumstances. I've alluded to the multilateral cooperation where China has been a solid partner, not just in terms of financial contribution, not just in terms of troop contribution, but in terms of technical contribution and capacity building. China has been a solid partner over the years and continue to expend a great deal of energy and resources in working with Africa in this context. So I believe that going forward, we need to strengthen this partnership. in all 5 areas. We need to further unpack each of these areas individually and see where we can do more in expanding the cooperation at the bilateral level, in expanding the cooperation at the multilateral level, in expanding the cooperation through the FOCAC architecture. We have put in place a solid structure in terms of peace and security cooperation under FOCAC, the emerging cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative. Security has to underpin this partnership. It is critically important that we create the enabling environment. And I believe these are the critical areas that we need to focus on going forward in this dynamic partnership in the security domain between the African continent and China. Thank you for having me and for giving me time to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Suklal, for your presentation this morning, and thank you as well for underlining the 5 areas that we need to unpack to be able, for Africa to be able to better engage with China going forward. I think you raise an important issue, which is understanding the actor whom we are dealing with on the international scene. And your presentation of Chinese history as shaping its foreign policy and its international engagements is key to understanding exactly ways in which Africa could understand and engage with China going forward. At this point, I would like to turn over to Professor Zhang Chun of Yunnan University for his preliminary remarks. Professor Zhang, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Akum. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, thanks a lot. Your Excellency, Ambassador Chen, and Your Excellency, Ambassador Sukola, and ladies, gentlemen, good afternoon and good morning. It's my great pleasure to be here to exchange my view on how